Welcome back to the channel, and today we're looking at a rare moment of honesty from US media. This report out of Las Vegas, it actually hints at something most American outlets completely ignore: the 51st state rhetoric and those arrogant annexation threats. Finally, someone might be connecting the dots, because let's be real, most US coverage keeps blaming the boycott on tariffs or the low loonie. But we, as Canadians, know the truth runs deeper than that. So let's dive into this report together and see if, for once, the media down south gets it right.
Why are Canadians staying away from Las Vegas? Could it be the rhetoric out of the White House, or is it the tariffs, or is it both? Let's hash it out with the help of the Nevada Independent reporter, Howard Stutz. Thank you so much, Howard, for being here. And we have to think of ourselves here. What is it going to do to impact the local economy here in Las Vegas? What have you found through your reporting?
Well, Kim, thanks for having me on. And what's fascinating is that international, let's go back to the pandemic. We were looking to try to revive international travel as fast as we could, because that's a big component in Las Vegas back in 2021, really pushing for it. Canadians were still coming then. That was one of the few international flights we had were coming in from Canada, Toronto or Montreal, because of the connection. And Canada is the number one international tourist destination, tourist market for, coming to Las Vegas.
All right, so right off the bat, the report touches on the significant drop in Canadian travel to the US. According to recent data, Canadian visits to the US plummeted last month amid anger over tariffs and annexation threats from its president, on top of concerns about border detentions. No surprise here, it's not just about politics, it's about feeling unwelcome and concerned for personal safety. Reports have surfaced about Canadians being detained at the border for minor issues, which understandably makes people think twice about crossing over. Let's see if this news report actually mentions anything about annexation threats.
So we saw this huge dip in February's numbers. International visitation went down, especially from Canada. I mean, some of the flights were like 15, 12%, down. And I first thought, well, it would look like the tariffs, and I wrote about it. But a week later, I had Canadians reaching out to me saying, it's not the tariffs, it's the disrespect. And you have to remember, these are February's numbers that we got toward the end of March. And so, they said, we're not coming to Canada because of the disrespect. Like you said, the 51st state and all the rhetoric coming out of the White House.
Now, here's where it gets even more concerning. President Trump's suggestion that Canada should become the 51st state isn't just a one-off comment. He's reiterated this idea multiple times, even stating he's really not trolling about it. This kind of rhetoric has struck a nerve with many Canadians, including myself. It's not just political banter. It's perceived as a direct challenge to our national sovereignty. The idea of annexation, even if unlikely, is unsettling and has fueled a sense of nationalism and a desire to assert our independence. Let's continue.
And so we'll see now. Next week, we should see, end of April, we'll see the March numbers. I think they're going to be down pretty bad coming, when we see the March numbers.
By all accounts, it could be billions of dollars for the United States. Obviously, we would take a chunk out of that here in Southern Nevada. But I just have talked with Canadian friends, and it's the same thing. I first started noticing when we would have hockey games north of the border and all of the fights that were going on. I thought, this doesn't seem very Canadian. I know it's hockey, but they were saying at first they thought it was funny, the whole 51st state thing. Now it's insulting. I've talked about on the program a neighbor who lives behind me, who is a snowbird, is purposely boycotting coming down to her home here in Las Vegas this season because of Donald Trump's rhetoric.
The economic implications are significant too. Canadian snowbirds contribute a lot to the U.S. economy. Travel to the United States has significantly declined, driven by growing unease with President Donald Trump's policies and rhetoric, and also because we're pissed off. And to the female anchor, she said it could be billions of dollars. It will be billions of tourism dollars lost. We're just focusing on Canada right now. But don't forget Europe, UK, Asia, Australia. They're also boycotting US products and tourism, so it will be billions of dollars. Let's continue.
I know you don't have a crystal ball to know exactly what this is going to do to our community, but it's gotten to the point where the Bill Hornbuckle, who heads the largest, he's the largest employer of the state as far as MGM Resorts, that they're concerned.
Yeah, Bill Hornbuckle was speaking last week at the East Coast Gaming Conference. He said when a Canadian team comes in to play the Vegas Golden Knights, they get, a ton of fans, thousands of fans come from Canada for those games. They follow them down here. I've seen that before. You and I have seen that. We've gone, we go to Vegas Golden Knights games and seen Canadian teams, and it's a good crowd from Canada.
I'm one of those Canadians he mentioned, have watched plenty of Vancouver Canuck games in Los Angeles, San Jose, and even Las Vegas. It was great to fly down for a weekend, book a hotel room, spend money on tickets, hit up a bar before the game, spend money at the stadium, and more money at the bar after. Each trip is easily a few thousand spend on flight, hotel, tickets, food, and alcohol, just for a weekend. But speaking for myself, I won't be doing this anymore. And it may continue even after Trump is out of the office. And I know I'm not alone on this. Leave a comment below if you have canceled your regular trips to the US. Let's keep going with this news report.
That's a big worry. The question will be what happens, if U.S. visitation to Las Vegas continues to fall. That'll be the other point. Now you look, it's cyclical. You look at this. Look at just this past weekend. Huge numbers. How many people went? 130,000 people packed Allegiant Stadium for WrestleMania for 2 nights, for 2 days, and so we'll see that. But is it enough to cover? I don't know. Visitation is really, the international visitation is a key component to Las Vegas, and not just Canada. If Canada is staying away, what about the internet? What about our visitors from across the pond, and the UK and France and all over Europe? Are they going to start staying away from the U.S.? That's
the international community is definitely staying away. Canadians are choosing to spend their hard-earned money elsewhere, whether it's within Canada, heading to Europe, or vacationing at home. But as I mentioned earlier, it's not just Canada deciding to not go to the US. Other countries like the UK, Germany, Australia, EU countries, and pretty much any country that has a travel advisory on the US. The US should expect lower tourists globally. And honestly, I'm glad. Every dollar not spent in the US is a statement from all countries.
Big question that we don't know yet. We saw a huge drop in visitation for February. I expect we'll see a huge drop for March when we see those numbers next week. So yeah, it's something that's going to affect our economy now going forward, and that's doubled up with the Wall Street, as you guys were reporting earlier, with the markets being down again. All these big companies here in Vegas, are publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and they've seen a huge hit in shareholder value. So this is something that we're kind of watching. We have to watch closely next few months.
And this is where we will do the whole stay tuned. Once we get those numbers for each and every month, we'll have to check back in with you and see how it's playing in our community. Howard, thank you. Thank you to you and all of the reporters within the Nevada Independent. You guys do a great job. And
all right, so that was finally a decent report from a US media outlet. Better than most US coverage I've seen. At least they did mention the 51st state rhetoric and that Canadians are upset about that. But they still didn't fully dig into the real heart of it. Canadians aren't boycotting out of random anger. It's standing up for who we are, a sovereign country, not a bargaining chip or a punchline. And definitely not the 51st state. I'll miss watching my Vancouver Canucks playing in Los Angeles, San Jose, and Las Vegas. For now, I'll just watch them on TV. Let me know down below, have you changed your travel plans? Are you boycotting US goods too? Drop a comment and tell us how your US spending habits have changed. And hit the like button if you're standing strong with Canada. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more honest Canadian takes like this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.